Welcome to the second episode on our 4-part holiday triggers series. And today we're going to be talking about the winter solstice and how this beautiful time of introspection really helps you get down to the essence of your relationship with yourself and with your partner. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome to Essence, the podcast that helps you liberate yourself by understanding the heart of your relationship patterns. For the empathetic woman ready to transform that relationship overwhelm into liberation, I'm Olivia Heine, your host and coach in NLP, cycle syncing, and relationship dynamics. I'm here to guide you through emotional regulation, shadow work, and self-discovery that leads to true healing. If you're someone who feels deeply, who often puts your needs last, or is navigating challenging times in your relationship, you are in the right place. Together, we'll explore what it means to show up authentically, articulate your needs, and embrace the kind of conflict that can actually cultivate deeper connection, so that you can create more fulfilling relationships by being fully seen. This is all about uncovering the essence of who you are and how and why you show up in your relationships the way that you do. So, let's dive in.
Welcome back to Essence. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending a little bit of your holiday season with me. As I mentioned, this is the second out of 4 episodes in this 4-part series where we're really focusing on all the things that might be coming up for you in terms of relationships with the one-on-one people that you have in your life, to your parents, to your partners, to your siblings, to family members around the holiday season when everyone tends to be together or at least in reflection together. And it can bring up a lot of things. So the first episode was all about how the season and the stressors of this season often come from this underlying trigger of coming back home, feeling stressed about the family dynamics at play, the relationship dynamics at play, feeling yourself reverting back to a childhood version of yourself, feeling a lot of old wounds coming up and surfacing and how that's affecting your relationship with your partner. So that was all in episode 1, and I'll link it in the show notes for you so that you can go and dive into that. But today we're really going to kind of shift gears and talk about the winter solstice, which is happening this week as well. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Olivia Heine. I'm here to help you go from overwhelmed to liberated in your relationship, helping you navigate relationship dynamics and challenges as they come up with a sense of ease, especially as an empathetic human in this world. It can be really easy to take on the emotions of other people, adjust yourself to keep the peace, want to make everything better and fix things right away. And what we're really doing here is getting into the essence of who you are, getting to the essence and the heart of your relationship patterns so that you can really hold yourself through everything that comes up for you as you move through relationship dynamics and feel really grounded in that. Empathy is a beautiful gift, and if you possess that gift, it is so crucial to understand how to use it, how to mold it so that it works for you as opposed to draining you, because it's so easy to overcare and overgive. And ultimately, your one-on-one relationships are your greatest mirrors for healing, for understanding yourself, and they're going to trigger you the absolute most in order to do that. So it's key to understand how to navigate them, because it's one of those things in life where you're never going to be done, right? You're always going to have new relationships, new levels to your relationships, new experiences that you go through that is going to prompt you to have to look at something new or dig deeper or move through something new again together. So enough of that. Let's get into what the winter solstice is all about. And really what this is a natural time to reflect and renew. So if you're listening to this in 2024, which is when this episode comes out, the winter solstice is on December 20th, but it tends to vary between the 20th, 21st. So I recommend just Googling, checking up on it, seeing what the actual date is this year, because that is a really potent portal. It is the winter solstice, the longest night and the shortest day of the year. And really what it is emphasizing are the themes of the winter season. And it is really moving into this dark portal. And that's not something for us to be scared of or afraid of. It's not something for us to fear. This darkness isn't bad. It's actually a really beautiful thing where we can get ourselves wrapped up in kind of like this hibernation cave and look at what is coming up in the darkness or rest in this darkness. And it is a beautiful time to start going into that space to cultivate some time for self-reflection, for tuning back into yourself, for pausing the busy flow of external life and focus your attention back inward. So, the first thing that the winter solstice is a beautiful thing for is this introspection, going beyond and beneath the surface. Because mostly when we're going through life, there's a lot of things going on, like I just said, and you're just jumping from one thing to the next, getting this done, getting that done. And the holiday season is no exception, right? There's gifts to buy, there's things to organize, there's decorations to set up, there's events to plan, whatever else you're doing. Like you might have a really, really, really long list. So this might not feel like the most relaxing time. And because lists usually mean there's a lot to do, there's pressure, there's stress, there's deadlines, might even be work related, that's shifting your inner energy as well, which is most likely showing up in your relationship. It's reflecting back to you the fact that you're stressed, that you're overwhelmed, you're feeling shorter with each other within your relationship or within your relationships with other people. And so this is a really beautiful moment to step away from all that. Let all of that fall and turn back within. Actually giving yourself the space to look at the things that you kind of overlook on a daily basis because you just don't have the time or the capacity isn't there, and giving yourself that space to really slow down and hibernate. So the first invitation that I want to give you for this episode on holiday triggers, but the winter solstice and infusing this energy into it, is creating some space on the 20th or the 21st or around the winter solstice day. Create some space for yourself, for getting back to your own essence of what's going on within me. What do I need? What can I create here? And part of that is also exploring or giving space to your relationship with your shadow side. And this is another reason why the winter solstice is so beautiful. And we talk a lot about the seasonal living aspect of things within my coaching and within my courses, because we focus a lot on your cycle, on your menstrual cycle as a woman, your hormonal cycle as a human, and how that really informs your relationships. And the menstrual cycle aligns with the 4 seasonal seasons that we have. And so playing with these energies and these themes is a really beautiful way to tend to yourself and in turn also be able to show up more fully and more emotionally grounded within your relationships. So with this topic of the winter solstice is the darkest day of the year, right? Like this is big shadow energy. And so using this energy of the winter solstice as kind of a metaphor to doing some of that shadow work, creeping into this dark portal and looking at the shadows that are lurking there. And there's stillness in darkness, right? It's like this eternal quiet peace. And we can either see that again as darkness being kind of this scary thing. We don't know what's lurking there. This quiet is ominous. Or we can see it as a beautiful moment of stillness, of serenity, of bliss, and allowing what is there to come and make itself apparent to us, present itself to us. And we can only see that when we're being absolutely present within that darkness. So the practice here is creating the space in this beautiful portal of the winter solstice and allowing the shadows to be brought to light. And I love this theme because usually we think like, oh, shine your light, shine your brightness. But in order for you to do that, in order for your light to come through, and that can be in your relationships, that can be in the way that you show up for yourself, show up authentically within your partnerships, the only way that happens is when the light is illuminated on a dark background, right? And that's the darkness. So if we kind of think about the starry night, we need that dark backdrop. We need the depth darkness of the night sky for the stars to shine brightly, right? And so this is kind of the intertwining of 2 parts here, the dark and the light, and the beautiful way you can start to lean into the darkness within this winter solstice portal. What this ends up doing, and kind of this is the third part of the winter solstice kind of ritual that you can do for yourself, or maybe it's just a moment of pause, but really coming back to this concept that the more you know yourself, the deeper you are in understanding and in connection with yourself, the more fully you're able to show up in your relationships. And not just more fully, but your partner literally is not going to be able to read your mind, right? Your partner is not going to understand what you need, especially when you're trying to communicate something that you don't even understand, right? So the best way to describe this, and I love this analogy because it also shows the depth of the work that we're doing here. Like maybe you're really into attachment styles and you've been doing this work and you're trying to really understand your triggers and what's been coming up for you. And so you're like, okay, I know I'm anxiously attached, or I'm avoidant, or fearful avoidant, or I know I have ROCD, which is relationship OCD essentially. And there's all these kind of like concepts and terms. And so you can have that. That's already a great piece of understanding. And that's already something so that in conversations, you're like, oh, I know I have this thing, but you're not 1000% aware of how it's actually playing out in your relationship, or that it's not actually about the concept, but it's about the story that's attached to this concept. So for example, instead of like, oh, I'm anxiously attached, and you're like, but that's just conceptually an understanding. I don't understand that in my body. I don't embody it. I don't understand 1000% why it's triggering me in this moment, or why it's showing up in this way, or maybe I don't even fully see how it's showing up in my life and reality now. But embodying it means saying, oh, I understand that when you come home late from work and you don't tell me, or you just come home late, even if you let me know, what that's actually triggering for me is this memory and this experience of my parent, my mom or my dad, like not being on time, not picking me up. Like I had to wait for them all the time from school, from soccer practice, from swim practice, whatever it was. And this feeling of like, I'm not important enough. I feel neglected. I feel like you are abandoning me in this moment. Like that is so much deeper and so much more embodied than saying, oh, I'm anxious avoidant, or I'm anxiously attached, or fearful avoidant rather. And so this shift of not just understanding conceptually what's going on for you, or like, oh, that triggered me, but like really looking at what's happening in the shadow of that, what's happening beneath the surface, what's the kind of hidden, buried away root of that. That's a very different understanding of yourself. That's a very different embodiment of the trigger that's playing out now. So sitting in this dark portal of the winter solstice can give you that space to really reflect and examine, what do I really believe to be true about connection? What is my definition of a relationship, a healthy relationship? What does I love you mean to me? Like all of these things, or maybe it's a really specific thing for you where you're like, I have been seeing this pattern play out, or I've recognized this particular attachment style. However, what's the deeper story beneath it? What's that embodied feeling of what's going on, the sensation that I'm experiencing? Very different levels of this work, right? And so the more you understand that in yourself, then you come back to your partner like, this is why it bothers me so much when you come home late or when you don't let me know, because this is what it's triggering for me. And that's a completely different conversation then that you're having, a completely different level of growth and understanding than, oh, I'm anxiously attached or I'm avoidant attached. And again, those things are really important concepts and really powerful as a starting point to know, but it goes deeper than that. And so this is why sitting in this portal of darkness, let's call it, of the winter solstice, is a way to help cultivate this deeper understanding and awareness in yourself so that you can relay that and communicate more clearly with your partner. The more you know yourself, the more you can grow your relationship, the deeper your connection becomes, right? So now that we've kind of covered this energy of the winter solstice, how you can work with it, how you can allow yourself to like sink into this darkness, like it's here to hold you. It's here to let you rest, to hibernate, to really let everything go, especially during this season that tends to be so high strung or makes us so anxious and stressed. This is a moment for you to just let it go. Surrender to the darkness and see what comes up in that space when you do that. I have some questions for you to dive deeper into this intimacy. And I also love this idea of darkness because it kind of in my mind correlates to the experience and feeling of intimacy, right? Like intimacy is a very vulnerable thing. It's not something that is necessarily exposed to the light. I think intimacy creates light in itself. So it's like the star on that dark sky backdrop. But in itself, we kind of have to like let ourselves sink into this void in order to spark it. And it's that intimate experience that you have with another person or with yourself. And so in this dark void of the winter solstice portal, here's some questions that you can reflect on with yourself or also with your partner to kind of dig deeper, to allow yourself to be embodied or hugged by this beautiful darkness. So, first question is, what is currently lingering in the shadows that is seeking your attention during this time of darkness? And this is not like saying, oh, it's a dark time and it's bad. No, it's a beautiful time of stillness, of quiet, so that you can hear. Number 2, what shadows or deeper, darker sides of yourselves can you lean into? Can you celebrate? This can either be, there's this part of myself that I used to not really like or that I thought was bad, but actually I can lean into it in this way, or it serves me in this way, or it supported me in this way. Or you can also take this question from the perspective of, what have I healed? What have you healed or released in this darkness, or what dark shadow work have you been doing that you have released, and how can you celebrate it? And then number 3, what do you need in order to fill your own cup? Especially during this very busy season, this is your moment to regroup, to rest, to start to reflect, to go within, to slow down. And this is really for you to ask yourself, what do I need to nurture my own emotional needs and desires? What is the essence of me? How can I build that up, or how can I feed into that so that I can pour back into myself and then I can pour back into my relationships and connections? And even if you're doing this in a family situation dynamic, it's going to give you so much grounded stability to show up for situations that might feel a little bit unstable or that might just be a lot right now. And that's also okay. The final thing that I want to give you here before we wrap up this episode is using this space to either release into the shadow or allow something to come up through the darkness, through the shadow. And that would be clarity or a vision or whatever else it might be that you're wanting to create for the upcoming year. What I like to say about the winter solstice, because this is not planning energy, it's dreaming energy. It's creative download energy. We're not taking action on what comes through during the winter solstice. This is not action-based energy. And it's also not direct planning-based energy. That's much more spring equinox energy. This is clarity, inner downloads, dreaming up what you want to create, envisioning. So it's a time for you to kind of be in this darkness and start to imagine, what is it that I want to create? What would feel really exciting? And yes, of course, looking forward to 2025, but just in general. And this can be a beautiful time to start dreaming up those shared goals or intentions, or just talking about those things with your partner, using it as that conversation to deepen connection. Part of this can also be releasing what maybe isn't going to serve you in the new year anymore and making space for this new clarity or these new downloads to come through. So in summary, you are creating space in this winter solstice portal to reflect, to reconnect with the essence of who you are, to give space for what is maybe lurking in the shadows, wants to be released, or celebrate the release of what you have been healing and bringing up through the shadows, and making space for something new, making space for what is to come in the new year. And with that being said, making space for that dreaming, for the clarity, for the downloads that are coming through to you now. And one of the most beautiful things that I love about this seasonal energy is that you really don't have to do that much, right? This is just about creating space for it. And I really invite you that as you create space this week to be in this winter solstice portal, asking yourself what would feel best. And maybe that is really to write down these journaling questions and journal them up. Maybe it's just to daydream about them. Maybe it's daydreaming about your future, what it is that you're wanting to create, seeing what downloads come through. Really tuning into like what would feel really yummy for you. Maybe it's taking a bath and you're just gonna bask in this energy in the bath, right? This is about nurturing yourself, filling your own cup, and creating space around that. So I would love to hear how you are honoring and celebrating the winter solstice for yourself, how it is energetically supporting your relationship with your own inner essence, your personal relationships, romantic relationships as well. And I will see you back here next week for the next episode in this 4-part holiday series. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a rating or review. Pass this on to someone who you love or know would benefit from this topic or who'd be interested in it. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you back here for the next episode.
Thank you for joining me on Essence. I hope today's episode gave you new insights and encouragement on your path to showing up authentically and embracing honest communication and connection. Remember, each step you take, whether it's setting a boundary, speaking up for your needs, or recognizing a pattern, brings you closer to a liberated, empowered self. If this episode resonated with you, please share it or leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Until next time, stay true to your essence, trust in your path, and keep showing up as the cycle breaker you are.